He was just fixing his broken ship. Alone on Mars. When she dropped from the sky. A tall, silver-armored alien woman. With eyes like fire. And lips that almost smiled. She stepped closer. And said just one thing. "What do I have to do to marry you, human?" He laughed. But her soldiers didn't. She wasn't joking. And what came next would decide the fate of both their worlds. But first, he had to survive her love. Welcome to a new story, traveler. My name is Michael, and I'm the voiceover artist for this channel. Now sit back. Because this one? It's not your usual love story. What if the most powerful alien in the galaxy wasn't here to conquer Earth, but to beg a human for love? And what if that human was just a lonely mechanic at the edge of a Martian junkyard? He was fixing broken ships when she came down from the sky. Not with guns, not with armies, but with a question that froze his heart. "What do I have to do to marry you, human?" He thought it was a joke. But when her soldiers raised their rifles and her ship blocked out the sun, he realized something. This wasn't about love. It was a test. And the first challenge was staying alive. They called him Jace. No last name. No family. Just Jace. He lived on the edge of Mars Outpost 9, where old ships were sent to die. A metal graveyard. A dump. Jace worked alone, fixing scraps for parts, selling what he could, and keeping what the others missed. He liked the silence. Until the sky cracked. A shadow fell over the yard. Too big. Too smooth. Too fast. He looked up and saw a ship unlike anything he'd ever seen. Black as obsidian and shaped like a blade. It didn't land. It descended, slow, quiet, like it was watching him. Jay stepped back. He grabbed the wrench tighter. The ship opened. Not with steam. Not with heat. But with cold, like winter air spilling out. And then she walked out. Tall. Elegant. Armor like molten silver. Eyes sharp as blades. She didn't look at the sky. Or the ground. Just at him. Like she had studied him for years. And when she finally spoke, her voice echoed across the junkyard. "What do I have to do to marry you, human?" Jace blinked. Laughed. Shook his head. "Yeah, okay. Who put you up to this?" She didn't laugh. Behind her, 3 guards stepped out. Armor heavier. Guns bigger. No one was smiling. "I'm serious," she said. "My name is Commander Vehlana of Zovari. You have been chosen." "Chosen for what?" Jace asked. She took 1 step closer. Her boots made no sound. "Your species is unique," she said. "You feel things. Emotions. Loyalty. Love." Jace looked around. Was he on a prank show? "I'm just a mechanic," he said. "I build things that don't last. I don't do feelings." Vehlana tilted her head. "You built this yard from trash." She paused. "That's what love is. Building something where others see nothing." He didn't like how that made him feel. "Still not marrying you," he said. She smiled, just a little. "You don't have to, yet." Then she pulled out a small device. A hologram lit up. 7 glowing symbols. 7 tests, she said. "Pass them, and you become my mate." "And if I don't?" he asked. She looked at the guards. "They'll take me home. And I will be cured." "Cured?" he asked. "Of what?" Of love, she said quietly. Jace didn't know what to say. He wanted to laugh again. But something in her eyes stopped him. She wasn't crazy. She was desperate. He looked at the sky. No cameras. No people. Just him and this alien girl. Asking for a future. That night, he didn't sleep. Her ship sat like a dragon outside his shack. The guards didn't move. And she? She stood on the roof, watching the stars. Like she was searching for something. Or waiting for someone to stop her. But no one came. Just Jace. With oil on his hands. And doubt in his chest. And maybe a little curiosity in his heart. Because somewhere deep down, beneath the fear, beneath the jokes, he wanted to know the answer. What kind of world sends its women across galaxies to fall in love with a man made of dust? The next morning, the Martian wind blew cold. Red dust flew across the scrap piles like ghosts. Jace stood outside his shack. And she was still there. Commander Vehlana. She hadn't slept. Did she even need sleep? Her armor gleamed in the early light. She turned the moment he stepped out. Are you ready for the first test? Jace rubbed his eyes. Lady, I don't even know what the test is. She walked toward him, slow, graceful. But every step felt like thunder. The first test, she said, is fire. They traveled 3 miles east, to the burnt zone. A stretch of land where Earthships once crashed. Now, it was black soil, sharp metal, and broken satellites. No one came here. Except her. Vehlana placed a small orb on the ground. It hissed. Clicked. Then spun rapidly. A large metallic arena rose from the dust. Round like a dome, glowing with red lines. This, she said, is a Zovari battle simulator. Battle? Jace asked. I thought this was about marriage. She turned to him. In my culture, only those who survive challenge are worthy of affection. He stared at the metal walls. They hummed with heat. Can't we just do dinner first? She didn't laugh. If you wish to continue, step inside. Jace took a deep breath. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't even brave. He was just a scrap man with greasy hands. But something in her voice, in her eyes, made him walk forward. The door closed behind him. The arena lit up. And then, it began. Heat. Fire rose from the ground like dragons. Metal shapes flew in the air, sharp, fast, deadly. Jace ran. He dodged one, rolled under another. Flames licked his boots. His heart pounded like a drum in his chest. This is insane, he yelled. No answer. He jumped over a spinning blade. Got caught on the leg. Kept running. Every corner brought a new threat. But he started noticing something. Patterns. The drones moved in a rhythm. The fire pulsed in waves. He could predict it. He could survive it. And he did. 10 minutes later, he dropped to his knees in the center. Burned. Bleeding. Alive. The arena shut down. Silence. Then the door opened. And Vehlana walked in. She didn't clap. She didn't smile. But she offered her hand. Jace looked up. Is this your idea of flirting? She pulled him up with one arm. You passed, she said softly. Better than I expected. He looked at her. So close now. The coldness in her armor. The warmth in her voice. And for just a second, he saw sadness in her eyes. Why me? He asked again. There are stronger men, she replied. Faster ones. Smarter ones. But not one, she said. Who tried to save a dying robot in a trash pile. Just because he didn't want it to feel alone. He blinked. She had watched him longer than he thought. Your world doesn't value men like you, she said. Mine has no one like you. That night, Jace sat by the fire. Bandaged, sore, confused. She stayed silent. Sitting across from him. Not talking. Just watching the flames dance between them. But even in silence, he felt something shift. Not just in her. In him too. Something old. And human. 3 days passed. The Martian sky stayed the same. Red winds, quiet nights, broken metal. But inside Jace, everything was changing. Vehlana didn't push. She waited. Watched. Observed. Every day, she stood at the edge of his yard. Like a storm he couldn't escape. And maybe didn't want to. He couldn't stop thinking about her words. You fixed a dying robot, just so it wouldn't feel alone. He hadn't thought anyone noticed that. But she did. On the 4th morning, she approached again. No armor this time. Just a simple dark suit. Form-fitting, strange fabric. Alien, yet elegant. It's time, she said. For the second test. He didn't speak. Just nodded. Because deep inside, he wanted to know more. About her. About these tests. And maybe about himself. They flew in silence. Her ship rose above the dust storms, cutting through Martian skies like a blade. She didn't sit in a pilot seat. She connected hands on 2 glowing pads. The ship moved like an extension of her body. Jace stared. He'd seen tech. He'd seen speed. But this was something else. She's alive, Vehlana said quietly. My ship. She listens. That's creepy, Jace replied. She turned to him. Smiled, slightly. You'll understand soon. They flew for hours. Past canyons, past red cliffs. Until they reached something buried in the sand. A door. Huge. Ancient. Hidden. Vehlana placed her hand on it. It glowed blue, then opened. Jace followed her into the dark. Inside, it wasn't rock. It wasn't metal. It was something alive. Pulsing walls. Humming lights. A heart beating in the walls. He looked around. What is this place? A living vault, she said. Built by the Zovari, thousands of years ago. It stores minds, souls, voices. Jace shivered. This is where we test the heart, she continued. The heart, he asked. Vehlana turned to him. You must listen to a voice trapped here. And not break. The room changed. Suddenly, he was standing in a white space. No walls. No floor. Just light. Then a voice spoke. But not Vehlana's. Not robotic. It was his mother's. Why did you leave me, Jace? I waited. I waited so long. He froze. She was gone. Dead. Years ago. But this voice. It was hers. Perfect. Real. I tried, he whispered. I tried to come back. Her voice cracked. You were supposed to fix everything. But you left, like your father. Jace clenched his fists. His throat tightened. No, that's not true. Then why are you still running? The light burned hotter. The voice grew louder. Stop, he yelled. You don't get to do this. Suddenly. Silence. The room faded. Vehlana stood there, watching. He was shaking. sweat down his face. Breath heavy. What was that?" he asked. She stepped closer. "The voice of regret," she said. "It finds your deepest wound and bleeds it open." "You knew?" he asked. "I've faced it too," she replied. "And I nearly broke." Jace didn't speak for a while. She didn't either. But they sat together, near the pulsing walls. And for the first time, she looked soft, vulnerable, like a woman, not a warrior. "Why did your people build this?" he asked. "To test worth," she said. "And what do I get for passing?" he whispered. Vehlana turned her head. "You get to keep your soul." Outside, the red sun was setting. The wind howled across the land. But in the silence of the vault, something had changed. He wasn't just a scrap man anymore. She wasn't just an alien. Now, they were connected by pain, by memory, by choice. 5 tests remained. But Jace no longer wanted to win. He wanted to understand her. And that might be the real test. The desert wind howled behind them as the vault door closed. The sky outside was still red. But Jace's world had changed. He wasn't the same man who fixed scrap for silence. Not anymore. Back at his camp, he didn't speak much. He ate, slept, stared at the stars. And when he looked at her, Vehlana, he didn't just see an alien anymore. He saw something breaking beneath her strength. And that scared him. Because he knew that same break lived inside him too. The next morning, she appeared again. Boots quiet on the metal floor. No expression. Only a sentence. "The 3rd test begins now." He didn't ask where. Didn't ask why. Just followed. They didn't take the ship this time. They walked. Across rusted plains. Past the old satellite towers. Toward a broken dome half buried in sand. A human structure. Old. Dead. Abandoned for years. But when they got closer, he saw the Zovari symbols glowing on its walls. "This used to be ours," he whispered. She nodded. Until it wasn't. The inside was cold. Steel walls cracked open by time. Dust-covered terminals. Cables hanging like vines from the ceiling. And in the center, a single black door. Smooth. Sealed. Whispering. Jace stopped. "What's in there?" Vehlana didn't move. "A room forbidden to all Zovari. Even me." "Then why bring me?" "Because you're not Zovari," she said. "And this room only opens to truth." She handed him a small disc. Blue light pulsed inside. "Place this on the door," she said. He stepped forward. The door didn't unlock. It didn't open. It simply melted into the floor. And what lay inside made his chest tighten. It was a nursery. Soft white walls. Floating cradles. Blank screens still glowing. All alien. All abandoned. "Is this a lab?" he asked. She stepped in behind him. Slow. Careful. Quiet. "This is where they made us." "Made you?" "Born from data, grown in tanks, tested in silence." Jace looked around. The place felt cold. But not from the air. From the absence. "No parents?" he asked. "No love," she said. "Just programming, loyalty, orders." She touched one cradle. "I escaped this place as a child," she whispered. "They told me it was my destiny. To lead our armies. To never question. To never feel." He watched her hand shake. "You're not supposed to be here, are you?" She looked at him. The third test is not for you. It's for me. Suddenly, the room flashed red. Alarms. Doors sealed. Holograms flickered to life. A voice, cold, machine-like, echoed across the room. Zovari traitor detected. Containment active. Run, she shouted. But Jace didn't move. He grabbed her arm. Not without you. Jace, the system sees me as a virus. Then let's crash the system. He pulled her behind one of the cradles. Flames sprayed from the walls. Shock beams zapped the air. Defense drones emerged from the ceiling. Jace grabbed a metal pipe from the floor. He couldn't fight the machines, but he could distract them. He banged the pipe against the ground. Hey, toaster heads, over here. A drone shot at him. Missed by an inch. Vehlana launched forward, tackled the drone. Ripped out its core. One down. 4 more left. She tossed him a small disc. EMP charge. Throw it when I say. She dashed forward, flipping, spinning, dodging fire. Now, she yelled. Jace threw it. Boom. The room blinked. The drones dropped. Silence again. Smoke rose from the floor. He coughed. She limped. But they were both standing. She turned to him. You passed, she said. I thought this was your test, he said. It was. She took his hand. Held it longer this time. You showed them something they never gave us. Choice. Later, outside, they sat under the stars. Not talking. Not moving. The desert was cold. But her shoulder, pressed lightly against his, was warm. And for the first time, Jace saw her not as a mission, but as a woman. Alone in a war she didn't choose. 4 tests remained. But something had already changed. The more he survived her world, the more she wanted to stay in his. The nights on Mars felt colder now. Not because of the wind, but because Jace knew something was coming. He could feel it. Like a storm waiting just beyond the hills. Quiet. Heavy. Hungry. And he was right. They were eating when the ship appeared. Not Vehlana's. Another one. Black. Angular. Larger than hers. And it came down hard, like it owned the sky. Jace stood. His hand went for a wrench. His only weapon. Vehlana's eyes narrowed. She didn't look surprised. Just tired. They sent him. The door of the ship hissed open. And out stepped him. Tall. Armored. A face carved from ice. His name was Vikos. Zovari elite. And Vehlana's chosen match. By blood. By law. By war. He stared straight at Jace like he was filth. So this is the human, he said. The weak thing you waste yourself on. Jace didn't move. Vehlana stepped forward. I made my choice. Vikos tilted his head. Your choice is not recognized by the council. You belong to me. And I will take you back. Jace stepped between them. She doesn't belong to anyone. Vikos laughed. It was a deep, cold sound. Then let the old way decide. Vehlana's face went pale. Jace didn't understand. What does that mean? Blood pact, she whispered. A challenge to the death. Jace blinked. Wait. You mean me? He challenged you, Jace. Vikos smiled. If you win, she's yours. If you die, she's mine. Jace stared at Vehlana. She didn't speak. Because there was no way out. This was Zovari law. Ancient. Unbreakable. And now, It was his only path forward. That night, they prepared. The fight would happen in the crater. The place where two moons once collided. An ancient arena. Dust and silence. Jace sat by the fire, wrapping cloth around his fists. Vehlana knelt beside him. "You don't have to do this," she whispered. He looked at her. "I know." "Then why are you?" He stared at the stars. "I don't know what this is between us. But I'd never seen anyone fight for love before." He looked back at her. "So maybe it's time someone did." Morning came. The crater waited. The sand was red. But not from Mars. From battles long before. Jace stood shirtless. Scars. Dust. No armor. Only speed. Only grit. Vikos stood like a mountain in black steel. A monster made of pride and hate. A horn sounded. The fight began. Vikos charged like thunder. But Jace dodged. Quick. Smart. A mechanic's eyes in a soldier's body. He ducked under a blade. Threw a rock into Vikos' visor. Scored a hit. But Vikos roared and slammed him with a fist. Jace flew across the sand. Blood in his mouth. Vehlana screamed. But couldn't step in. This was sacred law. Jace crawled to his knees. Breathing hard. Vision spinning. Vikos walked forward. Slow. Confident. "This is your great champion," he spat. "This broken thing?" Jace reached into his boot. Pulled out a small welding torch. "Not broken," he said. "Just warming up." He lit it. Blinded Vikos for 1 second. Enough. Jace leaped. Grabbed a loose wire from the arena wall. And wrapped it around Vikos' arm. The current surged. Sparks flew. Vikos screamed. Then dropped. Smoke rising from his armor. Jace stood over him, shaking. Chest rising. Blood on his lip. But alive. And that was enough. Vehlana ran to him. Tears in her eyes. The first he had ever seen. "You fool," she whispered. He smiled. "You love fools, don't you?" She kissed him. Not soft. Not gentle. But real. Later, as they flew back, she held his hand. The challenge was over. He had won. But in her silence, Jace knew the hardest tests were still ahead. Because beating a warrior was one thing. But winning her world, that would take everything he had left. Jace thought the hardest part was over. He had survived the battle. He had won the blood pact. He had kissed her. But he was wrong. The hardest part was understanding her. 2 nights later, they stood outside the ship. The stars above were bright, too bright. Vehlana didn't speak for a long time. Then finally, she said, "There's one test I've never let anyone take." Jace raised an eyebrow. "I thought we were past secrets." She didn't look at him. "This isn't a secret. It's a memory." They stepped inside her ship. Not the cockpit. Not the weapons bay. A quiet chamber deep in the back. Cold walls, black floors, glowing lines. "Put this on," she said, handing him a small silver ring. "What is it?" "A mind bridge," she whispered. "It lets two people share thoughts. But just once. And only if they trust each other." He took a deep breath. Slid the ring on. And the world turned to light. Suddenly, Jace was standing on another world. Her world. The sky was silver. The buildings floated. Zovari children marched in lines, no emotion. Everything looked perfect. but felt hollow. Then he saw her. A younger Vehlana. Maybe 10 years old. Alone. Sitting in a glass room. She wasn't playing. She wasn't smiling. She was crying. Tiny tears. Quiet sobs. Surrounded by cold machines. A tall figure entered, an elder, wrapped in robes. "You were told not to feel," the elder said. "I didn't mean to," the young Vehlana whispered. I saw a small bird fall. I wanted to help." "Wanting is weakness," the elder replied. "You will be reprogrammed." "No," she cried. But they grabbed her. Strapped her to a chair. Injected something into her veins. Jace tried to move, tried to stop them. But he couldn't. He was only a visitor in her mind. He watched the young girl's body shake. Watched her eyes fade. Watched her emotions die. Then, darkness. Then, silence. When light returned, he was back in the ship. Breathing hard. Sweating. Shaking. Vehlana sat across from him. She wasn't armored. She wasn't cold. She looked afraid. "That's what they did to me," she said. "That's what I became." Jace couldn't speak. Not right away. He walked to her. Sat beside her. Took her hand. "You're still you," he whispered. "Even after all that, you still came here. You still found love." She looked at him. "Or maybe love found me." They sat there, no words. Just the hum of the ship. And the quiet beat of two hearts. Finally sharing the same rhythm. That night, she spoke once more. "There is only one test left." "What is it?" he asked. She stared at him. "You must return to my world. And make them believe in what we found here." Jace blinked. "Your people? They hate emotion. They hate me." She nodded. "And that's why it has to be you." The seventh test wouldn't be a fight. It would be a war of belief. And if Jace failed, they'd erase her memory. Of him. Of Mars. Of love. And that was something he couldn't allow. Jace had survived every test. The fire. The drones. The battle. The memories. But now, he was facing the one thing he couldn't punch, fix, or run from. A room full of alien minds. Cold, perfect, and ready to erase everything he and Vehlana had built. They arrived in orbit above Zovari Prime. A shining planet. Beautiful but terrifying. Vehlana stood beside him on the platform, back in her armor. But something in her face had changed. She looked strong. But not cold. She looked like someone who had chosen her heart. Even if it cost her everything. The doors opened. 1,000 Zovari eyes turned to them. The High Council floated above the chamber. 6 elders, their bodies wrapped in light, their faces emotionless. Jace stepped forward. They did not greet him. They only spoke through one voice. A thin, sharp woman who seemed made of glass and power. "Human. Why are you here?" He took a breath. "My name is Jace. I didn't come to rule, fight, or conquer." He looked at Vehlana. "I came because she loved something in me. And I loved it back." The council didn't move. No reaction. No feeling. "Love is disorder," the woman said. "We will restore Vehlana's mind. You will be sent back. This union ends now." Jace stepped forward. He pulled something from his pocket. An old, dirty robot part. A broken memory chip from the junkyard. "This is from a machine I once fixed," he said. "Not because it was useful. Not because it was clean. Because I cared." He looked around. "That's what love is. You fix something, not because it works, but because you believe it still can. No response. But he wasn't done. You think emotion makes you weak. But without it, you have no reason to fight. No reason to protect. No reason to live. He turned to Vehlana. She learned love, not from her world, but from mine. He turned back to the council. Now ask yourself. If one of yours could feel it, how long before others will? Silence. Then, one of the elders, an ancient man with silver eyes, stood. We have studied humans for decades. We feared their chaos. We feared their wars. He looked at Jace. But perhaps, we feared their heart most of all. He turned to Vehlana. You may keep your mind. And your memory. And you're human. The room gasped. Even the guards stiffened. The council had never allowed this before. Later, back on the ship, Jace sat beside her. Neither of them spoke for a while. Then he said, "So, what do I have to do now to marry you?" Vehlana smiled. "For real this time. Just don't stop being human." They kissed. Stars glowed around them. Two hearts from different worlds, beating the same rhythm. And for the first time in Zovari history, love had passed the final test.